Thanks for joining us for 5 ways to enhance your campground. We'll be discussing how recent technology and trends can help refresh and enhance your business. My name is Nathan Golick, and I'm a hospitality expert, and I provide industry education for our customers at ResNexus. For over 8 years, I've worked in hotel operations, large and small, from front desk to housekeeping. I've done it all, eventually moving up to become a general manager. A little bit more about me. This is me hang gliding for my 32nd birthday. I love to get outdoors and I never shy away from an adventure. It's actually pretty relaxing compared to skydiving or bungee jumping. So, the hospitality industry is going through a fusion between technology and personal interaction. Does anyone here remember the Flintstones and the Jetsons? In my mind, the Flintstones represent in person, meaningful interactions that can be traced back to the beginning of time, while the Jetsons represent seamless technology and convenience. We are in a world where both are essential, even if we don't recognize it at the moment. Campgrounds have a rich history of providing excellent in person interactions. They often have a unique community that makes you feel welcome. So, today I'm going to focus more on the technology touchpoints. I don't know about you, but the pace of new technology seems to go faster and faster. For example, 70% of guests research their travel plans on their smartphone. In addition, in 2018, well before COVID, 82% of all travel bookings were made online via a mobile app or website, all without human interaction. So, what's the takeaway here? Not every meaningful interaction has a human behind it, and those non human interactions still impact your guest experience. Which brings me to the first way to enhance your business, which is by using online marketing channels to get found and to get new campers. The most prominent online marketing channels are the OTAs, or online travel agents. The largest ones include Google, Booking.com, Expedia, TripAdvisor, Airbnb, and Vrbo. 5 years ago, it was kind of difficult to find campgrounds, cabins, glamping, or even RV sites on the major OTAs. But the good news is that now there are thousands of them and it continues to grow. In addition, we are seeing even more campground specific OTAs coming online, including Spot Tonight, which works from the RV renter's perspective, or more glamping focused with Glamping Hub, and many more, including Hip Camp and The Dirt. However, OTAs aren't the only online marketing channels. Your direct website is another, as well as your online booking engine, which lets guests or campers book direct. So, how do all these online marketing channels affect your business? Let's start by understanding common travel shopping behavior in regards to Google search. When someone is planning a vacation or travel, they follow a typical path. Often, they search based on a place they want to go or by activities or things to do in a local area. Usually, the top results on Google are the OTAs, like Expedia, TripAdvisor, Booking.com, or Airbnb. The traveler will identify some places that stand out to them, but not necessarily book at that time. They want to talk to their partner, or spouse, or friend before they book. So, they will oftentimes watch videos about what they're going to be doing to help build excitement and escapism from day to day. Then they will come back to narrow down their choices on Google and then find either the direct website. Oftentimes, these campers are going to OTAs and checking their reviews. And then finally, they will complete the booking process either on the OTA or through your direct website. So, how do we use this information to our advantage? What does this all mean? Well, it means that OTAs are your modern day billboard and phone book rolled into one. Again, they are an excellent tool to bring in new guests. Your campground can take advantage of the billions of dollars spent in advertising by the OTAs because they only charge you when you get a booking. That's a big difference from what a typical billboard would provide, where you have to pay upfront and hope for a return on your investment. But like anything, all marketing has a cost. If you do take bookings over the OTA, the average commission charged on that reservation is anywhere from 15 to 30%. In addition, there are a couple of campground PMS systems that use a universal booking engine as an OTA and charge a per reservation fee. Because of this, I recommend some tips when using them. First, some of the best uses of OTAs are to use them for social proof and reviews. Next, use them to sell weekdays or slower season weekends. Oftentimes, campgrounds don't need help filling their weekends, so we'll block those so that people will book direct. In addition, during your busy season, you might not need help getting found, so you reduce the amount of inventory that you show on these OTAs during your busy season. Don't forget that the shopping behavior is to try to find you and book direct. So make sure that you let your guests book direct by having a good-looking website and online booking engine. In addition, I highly recommend that you make it easy for them to see your availability on your booking engine calendar. That way, they don't have to play the hunting game, right? We've all been there. I put in the dates, nope. I put in the dates again, nope. I leave and I go back to the OTA and I just book there. Now let's talk about how you can use the OTAs to increase your return guest rate. This is a long-term or long-tail strategy. OTAs are great at getting you new guests. They are not great at getting that same guest again. Why? Again, guests use OTAs to explore a new area that they haven't been to before. So once your guest has booked and stayed with you, the way to increase your return guest rate is to email market to them directly in the future. I recommend collecting their birth date and anniversary date, and then email market them on those dates or other important occasions. At the end of the day, it is really important that your business owns the guest information, not the OTA. So are there any other marketing channels you should be considering to increase your direct bookings? I recommend a strategy using Google Ads. Oftentimes, Google Ads wants you to do an ad based on a zip code or city or industry. The better way is to tap into searcher intent and to place your ads on local attractions. As I already mentioned, in the hospitality industry, you are often not the destination yourself. You are the place people stay near the attraction or activity they want to do. For example, if I do a Google ad for Zion National Park lodging, it is good, but you'll find a lot more competition here because we have added the word lodging. Instead, let's take a look at if we were put in a popular destination inside Zion National Park, like Angel's Landing. 0 ads, and they get over 90,000 visits per month in early spring and summer. So if I was to do an ad here, this is what I would put in. Lodging near Angel's Landing, top-rated place to stay. Some PMS systems even let you make Google Ads directly from their system. However you choose to do them, being strategic with your Google Ads will help you stand out from your competitors and bring you more direct reservations. All right, on to number 2. Let's talk about the next way to enhance your business, which is by using text messaging. Let's start with a simple question. What is the typical email open rate in the travel and hospitality industry? Well, the average email open rate is about 20%. However, pre-arrival or confirmation emails get an average open rate of just 62%. So even when the guest is expecting that email, they open it only 62% of the time. However, texting blows that out of the water with 98% open rate. Plus, 90% of text messages are opened within 3 seconds of being received, and 68% of respondents are more likely to buy from a business that offers convenient communication, such as text messaging. We just want to make it easy for them to book and communicate with your business. Many hospitality industries, including campgrounds, are already using text messaging. So let's take a look at the trends and see how you can use text messaging effectively. Let's start with the demographics. You might be surprised to learn that texting is not just for the younger generations. A recent study with nearly 3,200 participants found mobile device usage had increased across all age groups. Text messaging is the most used function across almost every generation, with the exception being the 55 to 64-year-old male. Also interesting, women are more likely to text than men of the same age. And of course, the younger generation texts at an even higher rate compared to older generations. It used to be that people would email more, and as we see here in white, that is decreasing. As you can see in green, people aren't checking their email as frequently and instead are spending more time texting. I've already mentioned that the guest experience starts way before they book with you. Let's take a look at how text messaging can enhance the guest experience throughout the entire process. I've identified 5 stages of the traveler journey. Let's talk about them. The first is pre-booking, where guests might ask you questions prior to booking a room, such as, do you have an ADA pool, or some other critical detail such as amps at that RV site. Either way, with text messaging, you have more time to answer that question. You can also increase the chances of closing that booking, and you can save time by not sitting on the phone. Next is post-booking. It is as simple as reminding them of their reservation and building excitement by sharing a link for things to do in the area. Let's be honest, when my mom says she's really looking forward to my call, I feel guilty if I don't call. The same principle applies reducing your no-show rate with these text messages. Then there's pre-arrival. You can text them a map, inform them about vehicle restrictions, allow them to do a contactless check-in, and get permission to collect payment. Next is mid-stay. Share the Wi-Fi password. Tell them where to eat. Announce fun activities. Check in how they are doing. And increase your retail sales. And lastly, post-stay. You can remind them about your checkout times, simply thank them for staying with you, and most importantly, ask for a review if they enjoyed their stay. Using text messaging for reputation or review management is one of the most powerful reasons to get text messaging, because it allows your business to reduce bad reviews and dramatically increase positive reviews. You qualify that the guest will leave a good review by asking them how their stay was. If they rate it 5 stars, ask them for a review. If it was 4 stars or less, ask them how you can improve. This is all automated with text messaging from ResNexus. This is how you can quickly stand far above your competition and increase your reviews. Let's move on to the third way to enhance your business, by using revenue management. So what is revenue management? Revenue management is an inclusive term that describes the use of the following pricing techniques and tactics. Variable pricing. This is the practice of charging different types for different elements of value. For example, you offer different rates for different site types or amenities. 65-foot RV site is worth more than a 50-foot. Dynamic pricing. That means that the price for the same room can change due to repeating events that affect your supply and demand. Think seasons, weekends, holidays, or stable events that cause your demand and supply to change. More people want to book on the weekends, right? So you should increase the price. Lastly is yield management, which means changing your prices to match fluctuations in supply and demand based on occupancy. For example, if you have high occupancy, you would want to raise your rates With low occupancy, you would want to lower your rates. So why use revenue management? I wanted to introduce a revenue management expert, Robert Cross. Some of Robert Cross's customers are General Motors, Coca-Cola, Delta Airlines, Marriott, Ford Motor Company, UPS, and many others. And he states that revenue management ensures that companies sell the right product to the right customer at the right time for the right price. Oftentimes, when I talk to brand new property owners that have never ran a campground before, they start with a flat rate for their sites. 6 months to a year later, they start using dynamic pricing and increase their rates for the weekends, holidays, and events. Then they will start to ask me about creating minimum nights. This is a great dynamic pricing strategy because you earn more revenue by separating the guests that are willing to stay longer and pay more during a peak time or season. It also helps reduce the amount of housekeeping or maintenance that you might have to do. At ResNexus, we have what we call Smart Minimum Nights. This feature automates the minimum nights requirement to automatically drop if some of the sites or units go unsold by a set date. For example, instead of requiring 4 nights, it will drop down to 3 or 2 if those units are going unsold. Next, the property owner will usually start to add sliding rates to encourage longer stays, similar to minimum nights, but adds in the discount incentive. And then after they are comfortable with using these different dynamic pricing tools, I recommend automatic yield management as their next step. Let's take a closer look at yield management in action. Let's say your occupancy rate is about 20% at a rate of about $80, around 90 days before a given stay date. Then around the 45-day to 30-day mark, you start to see demand increase, and so you raise your rates. That's simple yield management. You can either keep your daily rate the same or increase it to maintain your current occupancy rate. So then you would make more money on average and reduce your workload during the busy season. Many times when we talk about yield management, businesses think it only refers to rate increases in regards to occupancy. But let's look further into other strategies. For example, by discounting your rate 90 days out, you can quickly increase your occupancy rate. Then once you hit 50% occupancy, you can raise your rate a greater amount to slow demand and increase revenue. Just like the non-discounting property did, however, note that because I'm in a better position occupancy-wise, I can afford to let my rate be higher than it would have been in the previous scenario, illustrated here with this dotted line. Plus, if some guests cancel or you want to increase occupancy even more, you can discount again to sell last-minute travelers. So you might use yield management to discount to get your first 20% of occupancy quickly, and then use yield management again to increase your rate or to keep your occupancy lower but make more money. Ultimately, how you choose to use yield management to discount or increase rates is up to you. But keep in mind the following scenario. Should a guest that booked 3 months ahead pay the same rate as a guest that booked last minute? Does guest number 2 think they should? Is that how it works with the airlines?
The fact of the matter is that we are all conditioned to expect yield management, meaning the higher the demand and the fewer the quantity, the higher the price. On the inverse, if there's too many available places to stay and little demand, the price is lower. If you use yield management effectively, you should be able to stay in the maximum revenue zone. Let's take a look at 3 campgrounds in the same area with 10 cabins. Let's say a well-promoted event is scheduled to come to the area. Personally, the example that comes to mind for me is, do you remember the August 2017 Great American Solar Eclipse that swept across the country? A lot of places saw very random demand very early on because they were following the path of the solar eclipse. At the time, I worked in Central Oregon, and it was well advertised that Central Oregon gets 300 days of sunshine because they have a huge rain shadow from the Cascade Mountains. And so it was anticipated that it was going to be clear and sunny. And our lodge was actually sold 100% occupancy 4 years in advance, if you can believe that. But we didn't increase our rates and we left a lot of money on the table. So let's see how using automated yield management can prevent significant loss of potential revenue. Let's take a look at the yellow campground. The yellow campground stayed static and didn't change anything when guests called and booked up quickly to get 100% occupancy, very similar to the lodge that I worked at in Central Oregon. Yellow is very excited to be at 100%, but they left money on the table. This campground didn't change any of their rates for the event. Because they left them the same, the property's best available rate was the same it had been all month long at $68 to get an average daily rate of $68 per unit. And in this case, meaning their RevPAR was 68 bucks as well in our oversimplified example. Clearly, this property was caught off guard and didn't capitalize on that demand. For the green campground, however, she feels that she has the best cabins in town and knew the event was coming, and she posted her best available rate for higher than the competition at $199 a night. Because she made these manual changes all at once, her occupancy was only at 50% as she didn't ride the demand wave and pace her prices appropriately. Finally, we have the blue campground. The blue campground uses automatic yield management that gradually increases the rate based on occupancy. This property came into the event with their monthly average daily rate being at $129. This campground was able to get their best available rate all the way up to $159 as demand increased due to the event. And they have an impressive RevPAR far better than their competitors at $127.20 for the night of the event. As soon as the blue campground's occupancy got above a certain threshold, their rates would increase automatically, again and again, to maximize revenue. As we can see, green and blue performed better than the yellow campground as they made more money for that day. However, blue shows a better balance of increased occupancy and ADR through using automated yield management. Recognize that every night all your units are a rapidly expiring product. Once these units go unsold, they can never be sold again for that night. It's important to have a good balance of occupancy and rate to ensure you're getting the most money for a given unit and date. And as you can see, the blue campground, with their overall revenue, is almost $300 more than green and almost double that of the yellow campground. In the end, the blue campground has the right amount of occupancy at about 80% and makes the most revenue. So don't get caught off guard for a local event, even if it's NASCAR or a rodeo or a last minute concert or the Great American Solar Eclipse.
Again, at the end of the day, you have to ask, is automated yield management right for your business? I typically ask properties the following questions. Is your occupancy over 70%? Do you run 100% occupancy during certain times of the year on weekends? You might be leaving money on the table. Check your trends and look back at least 2 or 3 years to see how often the first two are happening. I say this because COVID has really changed some of these factors. If you find your property answers yes to those questions, then I recommend you ease into automated yield management with the following 2 rules. If your occupancy is between 71 and 90%, increase your rack rate by about 10% or maybe $10, whichever you are most comfortable with. If your occupancy is 91 to 100%, then you might want to consider going 20% or even $20 more. ResNexus allows you to automatically set your yield management rules based on occupancy. Next, let's talk about enhancing your business by putting useful content on your website. There are entire presentations just dedicated to this topic, so I'm going to keep it brief and to the point. Remember how I mentioned that the traveler starts with search escapism? They're looking for things to do first, not a place to stay necessarily. So what is the most useful content to put on your website? Useful content is telling the story of what there is to do around your property. It doesn't have to be Disneyland. After COVID, nature and natural parks are huge attractions. For example, this property just focuses on the beach. They have great storytelling and understand the guests they are appealing to. I love the surf, sleep, repeat section. They understand that they are not the belle of the ball or the main star. They are where people stay to see the belle of the ball. They showcase beautifully what their guests are interested in this case, surfing, and the main thing to do near them. They're not fancy, they are just unique and exciting. So, again, going off of the search escapism and other travel factors, you will want to be found. And to do that, you should add content on your website about things to do in your area, things that people are looking to do. I would start with the most Google search local attraction. Put it on your main page. So you should have a things to do page as well as the main attraction have its own page on your website. Don't just backlink to someone else's page. You want to keep these guests on your page. In addition to things to do, you should also include best places to eat. Keep the prospective guests on your website. Again, I highly recommend doing a thorough travel guide, landing page, and top attractions for your area. Dining could be iffy, but if it's unique, it couldn't hurt to put it on your website, especially if you're using it as a value add. A good page acts as a local guide and lays out everything your guests can bring or use to do the attraction. It includes social proof such as reviews, and Google recommends that you use at least 500 words. It doesn't have to be super lengthy. You want it to be concise, but you needed to have some content so that Google knows what the page is referring to. In addition, I recommend a map, maybe things to bring with you, such as sunscreen. And lastly, make sure that you have that call to action, like we see here with the Book Now button. Because like Huntington Beach Inn, if you successfully pair your attraction and landing page with your property, they should be more likely to stay with you. Regardless of who does your attraction landing page for you, like I mentioned before, you should consider placing a Google ad near that attraction. The ad competition is usually really low. For example, for Mount Monadnock, there are no OTAs. In addition, I would recommend promoting your attraction landing page on social media. Another page or item you can consider doing is advertising an experience to add value. Airbnb allows you to register for them, albeit they're usually pretty backlogged, but an experience page is a great way to get found as guests start hunting for a place to stay during the busy season. Some experiences you might want to add are less crowded. Think of activities like horseback riding, hiking, kayaking, picnic kits, things of that nature. What I like about many of these experiences is that they can scale to larger groups as well. Remember that large family gatherings might occur, maybe hosting a water balloon fight. That sounds fun. Whatever you choose to do, make sure that it acts as a thing to do in your area. All right, and the last way to refresh your business that we're going to discuss today is some suggestions about updating your cancellation policies. We all remember how we felt just about 2 years ago. I mean, look what it did to Mary Poppins. But in all seriousness, how do you protect your property from the next large disruption? The first policy I highly recommend that you update is to add a section about government shutdowns, pandemics, and other unforeseen circumstances. In case of a pandemic or government shutdown, I would state that your property will issue a credit voucher for a future stay in place of an immediate refund. This policy update will help protect your business from the refund and cash flow crisis many bed and breakfasts and campgrounds found themselves in during 2020. ResNexus helped hundreds of property owners offer vouchers early on in the pandemic, and it really helped save many businesses from having to close. What's more, recent research shows that cancellation rates have increased dramatically over the past 2 years. In the years leading up to the pandemic, we saw rates between 11 and 13% on average. But of course, in 2020, we saw that rate more than double to nearly 36% of reservations being canceled or rescheduled. And during last year, that rate is far higher than it's been in the past, still sitting around 32%. Across most travel segments, hotels, vacation rentals, air, and car rentals, 1 in 4 travelers now value full refunds above all other considerations. Because of the pandemic, the guest mindset has shifted dramatically in regards to cancellations. They now expect it to be standard. The OTAs have even adjusted to let guests search for flexible cancellations. Another way to offer flexible cancellation is to seek out trip protection service. This is a fairly recent trend that is gaining popularity. So how does this type of service work? For a small fee, a trip protection service enhances the policies or terms and conditions of an individual booking provided by the property. This reimbursement service is like the optional limited warranty plans customers can purchase when buying a television or smartphone, except for instead of protecting an electronic device, it protects the guest travel plans from an unexpected illness or health condition. One of these limited warranty providers is called Worry-Free Booking, which is a partner of ResNexus. Worry-Free Booking gives more peace of mind to your guests by providing a 100% refund minus the worry-free booking fee for a last-minute cancellation due to illness or other health condition. In addition, Worry-Free Booking also sends your property a check for the amount refunded to the guest. Bottom line, both you and your guests receive 100% reimbursement for that booking. All right, in summary, number one, you can enhance your business by using marketing channels to get found and get booked. Secondly, enhance your guest interactions with text messaging and make sure that you're texting them during those 5 phases that I discussed during the traveler journey. Enhance your revenue with dynamic pricing and yield management. And enhance your website with useful content so that you can get found and get booked. Finally, enhance your cancellation policies with some of the suggestions that I offered today.
All right, we hope you enjoyed this webinar. Please take a moment to fill out the survey at the conclusion of the webinar. We love your feedback. We hope you join us for our next webinar on June 8th at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Then we'll go over learn, serve, and grow with your guests. Does your property have that special something that keeps your guests coming back? With any business, it's not necessarily what we sell, but how we serve. In this informative webinar, we will discuss how successful businesses, large or small, can develop important touch points that keep brand loyalty and spread word of mouth advertising. Please join us for that on June 8th at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. If you like this webinar and want to see past webinars, you can find them on resnexus.com under Education and then Webinars. This will bring up all of our upcoming and past webinars where you'll see over 50 different webinars for you to choose from. And you can watch them on demand at any time that is convenient for you, all as a free resource to you. Plus, directly below the webinars, you will find our timestamps. This makes it really easy for you to go back and review our webinars if there's anything that you missed. If you're a ResNexus customer and have questions, feel free to reach out to the support team by clicking support in your back office. And you can either call your red carpet professional or call the general support line.